Now let's move on from the police issues and talk about who is getting out of the COCOBOD. Now, like I said previously, this has happened before, and it was expected to happen again once there is a change of government. Today, there was a letter that was coming from the presidency, of course, signed by Secretary to the President, Nana Asante Bediatu, who is asking Dr. Stephen Opuni, who is Chief Executive Officer of the COCOBOD, to leave. He was given up to 5 p.m. today to vacate his office, and that's less than 2 hours. And we'll be live at the COCOBOD headquarters shortly. But first, let's take a look at his background in politics. Justice Beidu joins me in the studio, and we will have a little chit-chat about this man. What do we know about him and his political history?
Dr. Opuni is someone who really had very little in terms of profile in the NDC itself prior to the party assuming office in 2009. But we know that for the doctor that he is, at the time that the NDC won the election in 2009, he got he first got appointed to the Food and Drugs Board, then now Food and Drugs Authority, as CEO, and he served there all through the tenure of Professor John Atta Mills, and so he was really keen at the time when he was at the Food and Drugs Authority on standardization, especially for the locally made drugs in Ghana, and that sort of made him run into a lot of issues with some of the local drug producers. We recall the issue he had at the time with the producers of Sementia drugs. Very, very lengthy tussle between the Food and Drugs Authority. He also ran into issues with the Tobinco Pharmaceuticals, which is also an indigenous pharmaceutical company. And so that he achieved a lot in terms of his bringing up standards at the Food and Drugs Authority. But then, of course, he also had his own issues as well. He was really instrumental, which is really key. He was really instrumental in the re-election of the NDC and what brought the President John Mahama.
How do we say that, or why do we say that?
Because he's from the Ashanti region, and he was really key in the NDC securing what was one of its highest electoral election scores in the region in 2012, and when we do know now that was a contributory factor to how the NDC won the 2012 election. And so following from that, he then got moved from, because of obviously there had been a lot of agitation against him at the Food and Drugs Authority.
So then he was moved to the COCOBOD.
And then he was swapped.
And he served on that board for I mean, he served as CEO
so he's been at the COCOBOD since 2013, which was the time that the NDC got into the second part of the last administration. And so there again, he was, I mean, he's someone who is always almost in the news. Recently, just about April of this year, he had issues with the union at COCOBOD, which is the unionized group of workers at COCOBOD, who wanted him out, obviously for what they said were how he was managing the board. And so he has done a lot, but he hasn't also lost out in terms of being in the news as a politician and also as a civil servant.
So that's why people say that this was to be expected, perhaps.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Justice Beidu. Justice Beidu is my colleague here, who's joined us to talk about Dr. Opuni there, who is CEO of the COCOBOD, who has been asked to get out, if I should put it bluntly. We can now go live to the COCOBOD headquarters for live updates there. Latif Idris is standing by for us there. Hello, Latif.
Hello, Gifty.
Okay, tell us what's happening now. What has this directive caused in the headquarters of COCOBOD this moment?
Yeah, Gifty, let's welcome our viewers live here at the COCOBOD here in the Central Business District. It's a Friday when people are getting ready for the weekend. One will say this isn't the best of days to get the sack, but that's exactly what has happened to the chief executive of COCOBOD, Dr. Stephen Opuni, who in about 3-4 hours ago received a sack from President Addo, Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The situation, if you come here, hasn't changed much for workers of COCOBOD. Today, I've been here for about an hour now, and the situation doesn't seem to change for the workers here at COCOBOD. Information I've gathered is that Dr. Stephen Opuni, as we speak, is in a crunch meeting with a unit of the transition team, but we do not know exactly the location where this meeting is being held. But information I've gathered from people of this company who are not willing to speak out openly, they've given me information, but then they wouldn't come out to speak directly to the public, is that this meeting is expected to get Dr. Stephen Opuni to account for his stewardship. We know Dr. Stephen Opuni has been in office since 2013. His leadership at COCOBOD has been very bumpy, if you like. We remember somewhere last year, the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union staged a demonstration against his leadership at COCOBOD. That situation didn't get him to, vacate the post, even though that was the call being made by the Industrial and Commercial Union. He stayed put until today that the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, has issued a statement or a directive for him to vacate office by end of today. So today marks the final day of work for Dr. Stephen Opuni at COCOBOD. But the situation here at the headquarters of COCOBOD, if you come here, I must say, hasn't changed much. Workers here are tight-lipped. They wouldn't say anything. I've engaged a couple of them. They'll give you information off the record. But if you want them to speak on record as far as the sack of the current chief executive is concerned, how it's affecting the morale of workers here, nobody, and I mean nobody here is willing to give us information. They think that come Monday, they'll be in a better position to give their opinion on the development. Gifty.
And come in briefly on that. If you say nothing has changed, exactly what do you mean? Is it business as usual, or is it because we also know that he's had a few issues with workers before? So if you say things are the same, is it that, are the workers, showing signs of excitement because the person they probably have had issues with is going out, or is it that it's business as usual, really?
Yeah, it's business as usual here at COCOBOD. People are going about their duties as if nothing has changed. That is the impression and what I've observed being here for an hour and a half. It is as if nothing has changed. Okay. But then, like you rightly pointed out, some of the workers here at COCOBOD are not happy, or were not happy with the leadership style of Dr. Stephen Opuni from 2013 till date. So maybe deep down their hearts, they may be jubilating, but then they wouldn't want to bring it open as at now.
But of course, we can't put that on
Monday,
record.
We will get to see.
Right, we can't put that on record because we don't know if they're excited in their hearts. But of course, we know that business is. But do you get the sense that we're told that he's in a meeting at this moment? Do you get the sense that he's getting ready to get out of the building? I mean, get out with his things?
Yeah, exactly the point I made to someone in here, one of the top hierarchies who gave me information off the record, and she told me that he is in a crunch meeting now. He has received the notification and the directive from the president. The letter hit his office this morning, and I'm sure the meeting which is going on right now is to get him to account for his 3-year stay in office. Certainly that should give you the clear indication that Dr. Stephen Opuni is getting ready to vacate office from today. And so, Gifty, if you come here, that is the situation. I'm sure Dr. Opuni is indeed ready to vacate post. But workers here wouldn't say anything.
For a fact that he was
maybe
at
for
work
job
today.
security, you wouldn't know, but then they wouldn't give you any information on the record.
Can we say for a fact that he was at work today?
Yeah, I got here, and the information I gathered here, he was in the office a while ago, but then had to rush for this meeting. Okay. And the workers here wouldn't even say whether or not Dr. Stephen Opuni is coming back to the office before going home, or right after the meeting with the transition team, he's going home. We do not know if he's making it back to the office or this hour marks the end of Dr. Stephen Opuni's stewardship at COCOBOD, Gifty.
Okay, thank you very much, Lateef. Lateef Idris is there. He's our man on the ground. He's at the headquarters, the COCOBOD headquarters here in Accra, telling us what the situation is right now. He says it's business as usual. People are working and going about their business as they do all the time. Dr. Opuni, as we speak, by the way, we're told is in a meeting with a section of the transition team. We don't know what that meeting is about. Neither do we have details of the location for that particular meeting. What we do know, though, is that he was at work today. What we don't know is whether or not he'll be coming back to the office today, or that is it for him. But let me just read to you the letter before I engage a legal practitioner on this matter. It's headed Termination of Office and Handing Over. And I'm going to read it to you. Pursuant to Section 14, Clause 1 of the Presidential Transition Act 2012, Act 845 and Paragraph 6 of the schedule thereto, you ceased to hold office as Chief Executive of Ghana Cocoa Board upon the assumption of office of His Excellency the President of the Republic. You are directed to hand over your office to His Excellency the President's representative at the Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Friyakoto, and proceed to collect any terminal benefits or facilities due you under relevant law. 3. In view of the urgency attached to this matter, please ensure that you hand over and cease to act as Chief Executive of Ghana Cocoa Board not later than 5 p.m. on January 13, 2017. 4. I count on your cooperation. Nana Bedieto Asante, Secretary to the President, and it is copied to the Chief Executive actually sent to the Chief Executive Ghana Cocoa Board, Kwame Nkrumah Avenue, Accra. That is all that there is on this letter. Detail there. Now, I can speak now to lawyer Abraham Amali, but he's a lawyer and a member of the NDC's legal team. He's got some concerns. Hello, sir. Thank you very much for your time here on The Pulse.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first tell us what your impressions are about this directive. Why do you have a problem with it, really?
I do not think I have stated anywhere that I have a problem with this particular one.
Okay.
But the point is this, anybody who was appointed as Chief Executive under the Mahama administration is fully aware that he occupies that office by virtue of the fact that President Mahama continues to stay in office. And so, as rightly indicated by that letter, the Presidential Transition Act is clear that anytime there's an assumption of a new president, the Chief Executive and other persons who have been seated and Schedule 1 of the Transition Act would all have to go with the president. And I think that this letter is also making reference to that. But my only worry has to do with the fact that there hasn't been enough time for him to clear his table and pack out. It is that this letter came somewhere mid-morning, and we are told that by 5 he should leave the office.
Yeah.
And so that is my only worry. But I think that, well, there's nothing wrong. The laws have provided for it, and that is it.
Well, shouldn't he have expected this if, of course, this is provided in the Act, in the Transition Act? He should probably be looking forward to it so that he is ready.
Sure. He should be looking. All chief executives who were appointed under the Mahama administration are fully aware and should be expecting their exit. But one must be given reasonable time to pack off and leave. You mustn't be seen as being hounded out of office. These are Ghanaians who have served the country. And so you don't just send them out as if they are criminals. And so I am only worried about the timing. If they were given like 2-3 days to leave, fine. But just mid-morning, then 5 o'clock you leave, it doesn't sound well in my ears.
Talking about giving him enough time, are there any options for him legally, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I don't think the law does not stipulate the number of hours, minutes, days you must give that person notice before he can leave. It just says that your appointment comes to an end with the assumption of a new president. Yeah.
So he must leave, and so he should.
He should. But these matters of timing and all those things, are just to say that we have to do things properly. We shouldn't hound people out of office.
Oh, so then shouldn't the Transition Act make provisions for that if things have to be done properly then? Because it doesn't provide any basis or any timing within which you can let a CEO should leave, you know, or within which anybody who holds a political appointment should relinquish it.
Yes, I think there have been some amendments, but I don't know whether these amendments have come to pass yet. There were attempts to amend portions of the Transition Act. Yes, so as if we agree that this is problematic, the timing is not provided for, and we think that it doesn't serve us well, I am of the view that we could consider that and also understand that the chief executive cannot just leave the office and without anybody coming to take over. So if they could have considered making it in such a way that you can only leave office if the new government appoints somebody to come and take over from you, then so that it can be a smooth transition. Else, if you just leave and there's nobody for you to hand over to, that for me too is a problem. So let's look at the two things: the timing, how many days should you be given notice to leave, and then also you can only hand over to somebody who has been named in your letter, and then the two of you can meet. You notice that it's now that they are having a transition meeting, meeting to try to see how the handing over process will be. And that, for me, doesn't go well. This should have been done like a day or two before, or even long before this time.
Do you get the sense that Dr. Opuni's case is a special case, looking at the timing and everything? Do you get the sense
I think so. When you look at the letter that was written and signed by Hajia Alima Mahama, which I thought was unconstitutional, I think that if they intended that they would ask all chief executives to go, this letter would have been in a similar fashion, where it would have named or listed all the chief executives and asked them to go. But to single out Dr. Opuni, there must be some special interest in that area.
What do you think that special interest is about?
I cannot tell, but the circumstances tell me that there must be some interest. I can't tell what it is, actually.
It's interesting that you mentioned Hajia Alima Mahama's letter, just for the benefit of those who do not or have not followed this particular story, that there's a request from the local Ministry of Local Government, which is whose minister designated is Hajia Alima Mahama, that's asking CEOs and DCEs, etc., to hand over to the coordinating executive. Now, that particular story, it's interesting that you mentioned it. Why do you think that it's problematic that Hajia Alima Mahama sent that letter through?
She signed off as the president's representative at the Ghana Ministry of Local Government.
Yes.
And I thought that there's no title like that in our constitution. Even in the Local Government Act, doesn't know that title. And I think that until she goes through the vetting processes, I do not think that she can be performing the roles assigned to ministers. She's not a minister yet. She hasn't got what they call it, office of authority.
Okay.
And I think that the right thing to do is what they have done now, where the letter of Opuni was signed by the executive secretary.
So
and then it will also be signed by the chief of staff or the president himself. But for now, to ask persons who are designated, who are not ministers, sign letters of dismissal, for me, it's unconstitutional. The designation she gave herself is unknown to the laws too, and there's nowhere in our constitution that talks about representative of the president in our various ministries.
I'd like for you to address what can happen in this case if of course, someone is using a title that is not recognized, as you say, by the Constitution. What can happen? But before you do that, I'd like to draw your attention to what is also contained in this particular letter that is asking Dr. Opuni to leave office. Now, it says here that you are directed to hand over your office to His Excellency, the President's representative at the Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Fiyakoto, and proceed to collect any terminal benefits. So basically, it appears that the term or the title, the president's representative at the Ministry of Agriculture, is running through these letters.
Yes, and it's unknown to our laws. That title is unknown. I thought that maybe following the case of J.H. Mensah that went to the Supreme Court, and the rulings of the Supreme Court are also laws of Ghana, they could have simply titled it acting minister, because you remember in that case, some ministers who served in the Rawlings administration, that's the first NDC, were being retained for the second NDC and the Rawlings administration. And J.H. Mensah went to court stating that they haven't had parliamentary approval, so they cannot act. And so the Supreme Court indicated that no, in circumstances like this, some persons can be made to act. And so if they had said acting minister, fine, but to say a representative of the president at the ministry is unknown to our laws.
I see. But this is something that could be allowed to pass, right? Or could something happen legally?
Well, because the fact is that these persons will have gone anyway, and they will go anyway. So the misnomer does not help them and does not help their cause. And the misnomer alone cannot allow them to stay. Okay. But we are just drawing attention that these titles are unknown to our laws.
Okay, we'll say a very big thank you to you, sir. Thank you very much for your time. Lawyer Abraham Amaliba there. He's a member of the NDC's legal team, talking to us about the termination of office and handing over letter that has just come in from this morning from the office of the president, asking Dr. Opuni, head of the Ghana COCOBOD, to leave office. Okay, you're still watching Pulse. My name is Gifty Ando.